The only thing colder than my pillow at 2 in the morning was Riley's side of the bed. She'd been pulling these girls' night out stunts for weeks now, and I was getting tired of playing the understanding husband. Nick Dalton, 38 years old, contractor by trade, fool by marriage, apparently. I was lying there in our weathered Victorian house on Elm Street, staring at the water stain on the ceiling that looked like a middle finger. How fitting, when my phone buzzed. Cal's name lit up the screen. Bro, you need to get down to Pulse. Riley's here, with your brother. The words hit me like a sledgehammer to the gut. Pulse was the downtown club where 20-somethings went to pretend they were still in college. Riley was 32, Evan was 30, and they were together. What do you mean together? I asked, though my stomach already knew the answer. I mean dancing like they're auditioning for a porn movie, Nick. I'm sorry, man. I thought you should know. I hung up and sat on the edge of the bed, running my hands through my hair. 2 months. We'd been married exactly 2 months, and my wife was grinding against my little brother on a dance floor across town. The smart thing would have been to storm down there and make a scene. The emotional thing would have been to cry. But I'm neither smart nor emotional. When I'm pissed off, I'm calculating. And right now, I was calculating how to destroy 2 people I'd once loved. I dressed in silence, pulling on jeans and a black t-shirt. My inner commentary was running dark. Let's see what the happy couple are up to. Maybe they're just swapping family recipes. Or bodily fluids. The drive to Pulse took 12 minutes through the empty streets of our mid-sized Maine town. 12 minutes to plan, to think, to let the rage settle into something colder and more useful. I parked across the street and walked in like I owned the place. The club was packed with the usual suspects: college kids home for break, divorced dads trying to recapture their youth, and apparently cheating wives looking for excitement. The music was loud enough to wake the dead, which was perfect because I felt pretty dead inside right about then. I spotted Cal first, nursing a beer at the bar and looking uncomfortable. He nodded toward the dance floor, and that's when I saw them. Riley, my beautiful wife, with her auburn hair and perfect smile, was pressed against Evan like they were trying to become one person. His hands were on her hips, her arms around his neck, and they were moving together in a way that made my marriage vows feel like toilet paper. Instead of charging down there like a bull, I did something smarter. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Every touch, every kiss, every betrayal was getting documented in high definition. The angle from the balcony was perfect. You could see both their faces clearly, see Riley's wedding ring catching the light as she ran her fingers through my brother's hair. Sometimes revenge is served not with a knife, but a camera, I muttered to myself, zooming in on their faces as they kissed like teenagers. I recorded for 10 minutes, getting multiple angles, making sure there was no way they could claim it was innocent. Then I did something that surprised even me. I left. No confrontation, no scene, no dramatic moment. I just walked out and drove home. But first, I made a stop at my lawyer's office. Evelyn Marsh was old school, a crusty ex-prosecutor who'd helped me with the house purchase. Her office had a night drop, and I slipped a USB drive with the video inside an envelope marked Urgent Divorce Proceedings. By the time I got home, Riley's car was still gone. I sat in my workshop in the basement, surrounded by my tools and half-finished projects, and started making plans. Real plans. The kind that would make Evan and Riley wish they'd never met each other, let alone decided to betray me. Riley came home at 4 in the morning, trying to be quiet as she stumbled through the front door. I was sitting in the kitchen with a cup of coffee, waiting for her. Nick? What are you doing up? She tried to sound casual, but I could hear the guilt in her voice. Couldn't sleep. How was girls' night? Oh, just the usual. Tess and I went to that new wine bar downtown. The lie rolled off her tongue so easily it made me wonder how many others I'd swallowed over the past 2 months. Funny thing about wine bars, I said, taking a sip of my coffee. They usually don't play music loud enough to cause hearing damage. Her face went pale. What do you mean? Nothing, honey, just making conversation. I stood up and kissed her cheek, tasting another man's cologne on her skin. I'm heading to bed. Early job tomorrow. She watched me go with confusion and fear in her eyes. Good. Let her wonder what I knew. The next morning, I was up before dawn making calls, first to the bank, freezing our joint accounts, then to my credit card companies, canceling her cards, then to Evelyn, who was already in her office reviewing the video. Jesus Christ, Nick, she said when I walked in. This is pretty damning stuff. Can we move fast on this? Honey, with evidence like this, we can move at the speed of light. Maine's a no-fault state, but adultery still matters when it comes to asset division, especially when it's with a family member. By 10 a.m., the paperwork was filed. By noon, Riley was calling me in a panic. Nick, what's wrong with our bank cards? They're all being declined. Huh, that's weird. Maybe there's a problem with the bank system. I called them. They said you froze the accounts. What's going on? I was standing in the hardware store, picking up supplies for a job, surrounded by the familiar smell of sawdust and metal. Oh, that. Yeah, I did that. Seemed like the responsible thing to do. What the hell does that mean? It means trip's canceled. So is your free ride. I hung up and turned off my phone. Let her sweat for a while. The next call came to my work phone an hour later. This time, it was Evan. Nick, what's this about you freezing Riley out of your accounts? She's freaking out. Funny thing, little brother. I don't remember asking for your opinion on my financial decisions. Come on, man, she's family now. Family. I let the word hang in the air like smoke. Yeah, let's talk about family, Evan. Let's talk about what family means. There was a long pause. What's that supposed to mean? It means I know. Another pause, longer this time. Know what? Everything. I hung up and went back to work. There's something therapeutic about swinging a hammer when you want to swing it at someone's face. That afternoon, I drove home to find Riley's car in the driveway and the sound of frantic packing coming from upstairs. I walked up to find her stuffing clothes into suitcases. Going somewhere? She spun around, and I could see she'd been crying. Your lawyer served me papers, Nick. Divorce papers. This is insane. Is it? Yes, we can work this out. Whatever you think happened. I don't think anything happened, Riley. I know what happened. I pulled out my phone and showed her a still frame from the video. Her face went white. That's not what it looks like. Really? Because it looks like my wife of 2 months is dry humping my brother on a dance floor. But hey, maybe I'm just seeing things. She sat down hard on the bed, suitcase forgotten. Nick, please, it was just dancing. It didn't mean anything. Just dancing. I nodded thoughtfully. You know what else is just dancing? The way you moved your tongue into his mouth, very rhythmic. You recorded us? I documented my wife committing adultery with my brother, yes. It seemed like the kind of thing I might need later. She started crying then, big dramatic sobs that might have worked on me 2 days ago. Now they just sounded like noise. You have 24 hours to get your stuff out, I said. After that, I'm changing the locks. Where am I supposed to go? I shrugged. I hear Evan's got a nice place. Might be cozy. That night, I went to the Rusty Anchor, our local dive bar where everybody knew everybody's business. Cal was waiting for me with a beer and a sympathetic look. How you holding up, buddy? Like a man who just discovered his family tree has some rotten branches. Word was already getting around. Ms. Marrow, the neighborhood gossip queen, had apparently seen Riley loading suitcases and was spreading the news faster than a forest fire. By the time I finished my second beer, half the bar knew I was getting divorced. Shame about Riley, said Pete, the bartender. Seemed like a nice girl. Yeah, well, so did Eve. And look how that turned out. That's the thing about small towns. Your business becomes everyone's business, whether you want it to or not. And right now, that was exactly what I wanted. The annual Harvest Festival was the biggest social event of the year in our town. Everyone showed up. Families, couples, teenagers, looking to cause trouble, and apparently cheating wives trying to pretend everything was normal. I arrived with Cal, both of us nursing hangovers from the night before, but putting on brave faces. The town square was packed with booths selling everything from homemade jam to questionable crafts, and the air smelled like fried dough and autumn leaves. You sure you want to be here? Cal asked. Might be awkward if they show up. I'm counting on it. We'd barely made it to the beer tent when I spotted them. Riley and Evan walking hand in hand through the crowd like they were the happy couple, and I was just some guy they used to know. Riley was wearing a sundress I'd bought her for our honeymoon, and Evan had his arm around her waist like he owned her. The sight of them together in public, flaunting their relationship barely a week after she'd moved out, made my blood boil. But I kept my cool. Revenge is a dish best served cold, and I'd been keeping mine in the freezer. "Well, look what the cat dragged in," I said loudly as they approached the beer tent. My voice carried across the crowd, and heads started turning. Riley's face went red. "Nick, please don't make a scene." "A scene? Me? I'm just here enjoying the festival with my friend. You know, like normal people do." Evan stepped forward, puffing out his chest like he was some kind of tough guy. "Look, Nick, we need to talk about this like adults." "Adults?" I nodded thoughtfully. "You mean like how adults don't sleep with their brothers' wives?" The crowd around us was getting bigger, sensing drama like sharks smell blood in the water. I could see Ms. Merrill pushing through the crowd, her eyes bright with gossip hunger. "That's not fair," Riley said. "You don't understand the situation." "Oh, I understand perfectly. You got bored with married life after 2 months and decided to trade up to the family model with better abs." Evan's face was getting red now. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Don't I?" I pulled out my phone. "Because I've got about 10 minutes of video that says otherwise." "You recorded us without consent," Riley hissed. "That's illegal." "Actually," said a voice from the crowd, "in Maine, it's legal to record in public places." Everyone turned to see Evelyn Marsh, my lawyer, standing there with a slight smile. I looked it up. The crowd was loving this. Nothing like a good public meltdown to spice up a boring festival. "Besides," I continued, "I think everyone here would be interested to know that this isn't Riley's first affair. Show of hands. Who here knows Lucas Brennan?" Riley went white as a sheet. Lucas was a wealthy client from her work, married with 2 kids. I'd found their text messages on our shared computer. "Nick, stop," she whispered. "Stop what? Stop telling the truth? Stop letting people know what kind of person they're looking at?" Tessa, Riley's friend and enabler, pushed through the crowd. "Leave her alone, Nick. You're being cruel." "Cruel?" I laughed, and it wasn't a nice sound. "Lady, I haven't even gotten started yet." I turned back to the crowd, which had grown to about 50 people by now. "See, the thing about my soon-to-be ex-wife here is that she's got what you might call an active social life. Lucas from her work, my brother here, and who knows who else. But hey, at least she's consistent. She likes them young, dumb, and related to people who trust her." Evan finally snapped. He lunged at me, but I was ready for it. I stepped aside and he went stumbling into a nearby booth selling homemade pies. The crowd gasped as he went down in a shower of apple filling and pie crust. "Oops," I said. "Sorry about that, brother. Guess you're not as smooth as you thought." Riley was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. "You're destroying my life." "No, honey. I'm just making sure everyone knows what you already destroyed." Ms. Merrill was taking notes like a court reporter. By tomorrow, this story would be all over town, embellished and expanded with each telling. "Come on, Cal," I said. "Let's go get that beer. All this family bonding has made me thirsty." As we walked away, I could hear Riley and Evan arguing behind us, their voices carrying across the festival grounds. The crowd was dispersing slowly, reluctant to miss any additional drama. "That was brutal, man," Cal said as we reached the beer tent. "That was just the opening act." The bartender, a guy named Mike, who'd gone to high school with us, handed me a beer with a grin. "That was better than cable, Nick. You should charge admission." "Just wait until you see what I've got planned for the encore." 3 days after the festival incident, Evan's prized 1967 Mustang, his baby, his pride and joy, the car he spent more time with than any girlfriend, was found in the parking lot behind the Rusty Anchor with "Home Wrecker" spray painted across the hood in bright red letters. All 4 tires were flat, and someone had poured maple syrup through the slightly open windows, coating the interior in sticky sweetness. I was sitting at the bar when he burst through the door, his face purple with rage. "You son of a bitch! You destroyed my car." The entire bar went quiet. Even the jukebox seemed to pause, out of respect for the drama unfolding. "That's terrible news," I said, taking a sip of my beer. "Did you call the police?" "Don't play dumb with me, Nick. I know it was you." "Me? I've been here all evening, haven't I, Pete?" The bartender nodded. "Been here since 6. Haven't left except to use the bathroom." See? Airtight alibi. Maybe you should look into your other enemies. I hear homewreckers make a lot of them. Evan's hands were shaking with fury. This isn't over. Oh, I know it's not. We're just getting started. He stormed out, and the bar erupted in laughter and conversation. Cal slapped me on the back. You really didn't do it. I winked at him. Some men have honor, others have insurance. Evan has neither. The truth was, I hadn't touched his car. But I had mentioned to a few people at the festival how much Evan loved that Mustang, and how it would be a shame if something happened to it. Small towns have a way of taking care of problems like that. 2 nights later, I was working late at a construction site on the outskirts of town. We were building a new office complex, and I liked to stay after hours to catch up on paperwork and enjoy the quiet. The site was surrounded by half-finished buildings, construction equipment, and enough shadows to hide an army. I was in the trailer, reviewing blueprints, when I heard footsteps on gravel outside. Heavy footsteps, trying to be quiet but failing. I looked out the window and saw a figure moving between the equipment. Evan. He was carrying something. Looked like a baseball bat. Apparently, my little brother had decided to take the direct approach to conflict resolution. I turned off the lights in the trailer and slipped out the back door. The construction site was like my second home. I knew every beam, every pile of materials, every potential hiding spot. Evan was stumbling around in the dark like a drunk tourist. Nick, he called out. I know you're here. Your truck's in the parking lot. I circled around behind him, moving quietly through the maze of equipment. He was standing near the crane, swinging the bat at shadows. Come out and face me like a man. Face you? I stepped out from behind a cement mixer about 20 feet away. Like you faced me when you were screwing my wife? He spun around, raising the bat. She was never really yours, Nick. She told me she made a mistake marrying you. Is that what she told you? Did she also mention Lucas? Or the guy from her gym? Or are you just the latest in a long line of mistakes? His face went slack. What are you talking about? Oh, Evan, you sweet, stupid boy. Did you really think you were special? You're just another notch on her bedpost. You're lying. I pulled out my phone and showed him screenshots of text messages between Riley and Lucas, dating back to before our wedding. His face went white in the glow of the screen. She's been playing you, little brother. Just like she played me. The bat dropped to his side. These could be fake. Could be. Or maybe your girlfriend isn't quite the prize you thought she was. He raised the bat again, but his heart wasn't in it anymore. I should kill you for what you did to my car. Your car? I laughed. I never touched your car. But I'll tell you what I'm going to touch. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a set of keys. His apartment keys, which I'd had copied months ago when he'd asked me to water his plants during a vacation. See, while you've been playing house with my sloppy seconds, I've been getting to know your place real well. Nice collection of baseball cards you've got. Be a shame if something happened to them. His eyes went wide. Those cards were worth more than his car, his father's collection, passed down and carefully maintained. You wouldn't. Try me. He started toward me, but I was already moving. I knew this site like the back of my hand, and he was stumbling around in unfamiliar territory. I led him on a chase through the half-built structures, always staying just out of reach, letting him exhaust himself, swinging at air. Finally, he gave up. He stood in the middle of the site, breathing hard, looking defeated. What do you want, Nick? I want you gone, both of you. Out of my town, out of my life, out of my sight. And if we don't go? I smiled, and even in the darkness, he could probably see how cold it was. Then things get much, much worse. He left without another word, and I watched his taillights disappear into the night. But I knew this wasn't over. Cornered animals do desperate things, and I'd just cornered 2 of them. The Sleepy Inn Motel sat on the edge of town like a relic from the 1960s, all faded paint and broken dreams. It was the kind of place where people went to disappear for a while, which made it perfect for what I had planned. I'd sent Riley and Evan a text from a burner phone, claiming to be a mutual friend who wanted to help them resolve their situation with Nick. The message suggested a meeting at the motel to discuss a financial settlement that would make everyone happy. They were desperate enough to believe it. I arrived early and set up in the parking lot, along with a few friends I'd recruited for the occasion. Ms. Merrow was there with her camera, claiming she was documenting community events. Cal had brought his cousin Jerry, who worked for the local newspaper. Even Pete from the bar had shown up, saying he needed some fresh air. At exactly 8 p.m., Riley's car pulled into the parking lot. She and Evan got out, looking around nervously. They were both dressed up like they were going to a job interview, which, in a way, they were. They knocked on the door of room 12, where they thought their mysterious benefactor was waiting. Instead, the door opened to reveal Detective Grant, an old friend of mine from high school who'd agreed to help out. Riley Dalton, Evan Dalton, I'm Detective Grant. I think we need to talk. Their faces went white. About what? Riley asked. About the harassment complaints that have been filed against you and the evidence of fraud we've uncovered. This was the beauty of small-town justice. Everyone knew everyone, and favors got traded like baseball cards. Grant wasn't there in any official capacity. He was just a friend helping out another friend. But Riley and Evan didn't know that. Fraud? Evan stammered. The fake harassment claims you've been planning to file against Nick Dalton. We have recordings. I stepped out from behind a car, holding up my phone. Amazing what people will say when they think they're alone in a car. Riley's face went from white to red. You've been following us? Following you? No. Monitoring you? Absolutely. The crowd was getting bigger now. Word had spread through town faster than a virus, and people were showing up to watch the show. Some had brought lawn chairs. This is harassment, Riley shouted. Is it? Asked Evelyn Marsh, stepping out from behind another car. Because I've got documentation of every lie you've told, every false claim you've made, and every attempt you've made to defraud my client. Your client? Nick Dalton. And as of today, he owns half of everything you thought you were going to get in the divorce. Riley's knees buckled. That's impossible. Prenup, I said cheerfully. Remember that paperwork you signed without reading? Turns out adultery voids your claim to marital assets. Who knew? Evan was looking around like a trapped animal. This is a setup. No, this is justice. There's a difference. Ms. Merrow was taking pictures like she was documenting a war. The crowd was murmuring appreciatively. This was better entertainment than anything on TV. You want to know what fraud looks like? I continued. It looks like a woman who marries a man for his money and starts cheating before the honeymoon tan fades. It looks like a brother who betrays family for a piece of tail. Nick, please. Riley was crying now, but they weren't the pretty tears from the movies. These were ugly, desperate tears. We can work this out. Work it out? Like you worked out your relationship with Lucas? Or the guy from your gym? Or the 3 other guys I found in your phone records? Evan's mouth fell open. 3 other guys? Oh, you didn't know? Your girlfriend's been busier than a bee in springtime. You're not special, Evan. You're just convenient. The crowd was eating this up. Nothing brings a community together like watching terrible people get what they deserve. But wait, I said, raising my voice like a carnival barker. There's more. I nodded to Cal, who pulled out a laptop and set it up on the hood of his car. Within minutes, he had a projector running, displaying Riley's text messages on the side of the motel. Let's see what Riley really thinks of her new boyfriend, I announced. The messages were brutal. Riley calling Evan a stepping stone, talking about how she was just using him to make me jealous, planning to dump him as soon as she got her hands on my money. Evan read the messages in stunned silence. Then he turned to Riley with murder in his eyes. You bitch. You lying, cheating bitch. Evan, I can explain. Explain what? How you've been using me? How you never gave a damn about me. The crowd was silent now, watching the relationship implode in real time. This is what betrayal looks like, I said to the crowd. This is what happens when people think they can take what doesn't belong to them. Riley tried to run then, but there was nowhere to go. She was surrounded by half the town, all of them watching her fall apart. You destroyed my life, she screamed at me. No, I said calmly. I just made sure everyone could see what you really are. The rusty anchor had never seen a party like this one. I'd rented out the entire bar for the night, invited everyone in town except 2 people, and turned it into a celebration that would be talked about for years. The banner over the bar read, Freedom Party, in big red letters, and the beer was flowing like water. Ms. Merrow was holding court in one corner, telling anyone who'd listen about the motel incident for the 20th time. Cal was behind the bar helping Pete serve drinks, and Detective Grant was regaling a crowd with stories about the evidence we'd gathered. I was standing at the bar, nursing a whiskey and feeling better than I had in months, when the door opened and Riley walked in. The entire bar went silent. Even the jukebox seemed to pause out of respect for the drama that was about to unfold. She looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes wrinkled, and she had the hollow-eyed look of someone who hadn't slept in days. Behind her, Evan shuffled in like a beaten dog. "Nick," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We need to talk." "Talk?" I set down my whiskey and turned to face her. "I thought we'd said everything that needed saying. Please, just 5 minutes." The crowd was watching like this was the Super Bowl. Someone had even started taking bets on what would happen next. 5 minutes, I said. "But make it good." She took a shaky breath. "I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But we can fix this." "Fix this?" I laughed, and the sound echoed through the silent bar. "Honey, you can't fix what you broke. You can't unscrew my brother. You can't unfuck Lucas. You can't undo any of the lies you told. I made mistakes." "Mistakes?" I stepped closer to her, and she backed up against the door. "A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk at the store. A mistake is wearing mismatched socks. What you did was make a choice, multiple choices, every single day for months." Evan finally spoke up. "Look, Nick, maybe we can all just move on." "Move on?" I turned to face him, and he actually flinched. "You want to move on? Fine. There's the door. Keep walking until you hit the state line." "You can't make us leave town," Riley said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Can't I?" I smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. "Let's see. Riley, your job fired you after the harassment allegations came out. Your apartment lease was terminated due to moral turpitude. Yes, that's actually a thing. Your parents won't return your calls, and your friends have all decided they're suddenly very busy." Her face crumpled. "You turned everyone against me." "I didn't turn anyone against you. I just made sure they knew who you really were." I turned to Evan. "And you, little brother. Your landlord evicted you after someone, not me, I swear, told him about the drug paraphernalia in your apartment. Your job at the garage let you go after your boss heard about you sleeping with your brother's wife. And your precious baseball card collection? Well, let's just say it found a new home." His eyes went wide. "You didn't. I did. Sold the whole collection to a dealer in Portland. Got a pretty good price, too. Donated the money to charity in your name? You're welcome." The bar erupted in laughter and applause. Someone started chanting, "Speech! Speech!" And soon the whole crowd had taken it up. I raised my hand for silence. "You know what the funny thing is? I actually loved you both. Riley, I thought you were the woman I'd spend my life with. Evan, you were my little brother. I would have done anything for either of you." My voice got harder. "But you threw that away. You threw it away for what? A few nights of sneaking around? Some cheap thrills? Was it worth it?" Riley was sobbing now, ugly tears streaming down her face. "Nick, please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix anything. Sorry doesn't give me back the trust you destroyed. Sorry doesn't undo the humiliation you put me through." I walked over to the jukebox and fed it a quarter. Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire started playing, and the crowd cheered. "Here's what's going to happen," I said, my voice carrying over the music. "You two are going to leave. Tonight, you're going to pack whatever's left of your belongings and drive out of this town, and you're never coming back." "And if we don't?" Evan asked, trying to sound defiant but failing. I walked over to him and got close enough that only he could hear me. "If you don't, I release the rest of the evidence. The photos of Riley with Lucas, the video of you selling drugs behind the high school, the recording of you both planning to frame me for domestic violence." His face went white. "You're bluffing. Try me." Riley grabbed Evan's arm. "Come on, let's just go." "Smart girl," I said, finally. They turned toward the door, but I wasn't done yet. "Oh, and Riley, that dress you're wearing? I bought it for you. Consider it a going-away present." She looked down at herself, realizing she was wearing one of the outfits I'd purchased during our brief marriage. Her face turned red with shame. "Evan," I called out, "give my regards to whatever town you end up in. Try not to screw any married women there. It's a bad habit." They stumbled out the door together and the bar exploded in cheers and applause. Someone bought me a drink. Someone else slapped me on the back. Mrs. Marrow was already on her phone, spreading the news to anyone who'd missed the show. Cal appeared at my elbow with a fresh whiskey. So what now? I looked around the bar at all these people, my friends, my neighbors, my community. People who'd stood by me when everything fell apart. People who'd helped me get my revenge, not because they hated Riley and Evan, but because they cared about me. Now, I raised my glass to the crowd. Now we celebrate. Here's to family. May they stay the hell away. The crowd cheered and raised their glasses. Outside, I could hear a car starting up and driving away, taking my past with it. I never saw Riley or Evan again. Word filtered back through the small-town gossip network that they'd made it as far as Boston before breaking up in a spectacular fight that ended with Riley throwing Evan's clothes out of a motel window and Evan calling the police on her for destruction of property. Riley ended up in California, working at a call center and living in a studio apartment. Evan bounced around for a while before settling in Florida, where he got a job at a marina and learned to keep his mouth shut about other people's business. Me? I stayed right here in this town, where everyone knows everyone's business and justice comes in the form of community pressure and social consequences. I kept my house, my business, and my dignity. I learned that revenge isn't about getting even. It's about making sure the people who wronged you understand the full weight of their choices. And every time I drive past that motel on the edge of town, I smile and remember the night I proved that sometimes the underdog wins not by being the biggest or the strongest, but by being the smartest. She left town in the same dress she cheated in. I'll drink to that.